Merry Christmas, everyone. The passage that I will be reflecting on today is Matthew chapter 1, verses 18 to 25. I've always found this story interesting because of the importance given to names in the Bible, the naming of babies by mothers and fathers in biblical texts, and what a name can tell us about who the baby in question, in this case Jesus, will grow up to be. The significance of names is especially important to me because of my own name, Thehil, which comes from the Hebrew word Tehillim, which means praise, and my sister's name, Thehil, which comes from the Hebrew word Thefilot, which means prayer. The story that my parents have always told us is that they prayed for 8 years for their first child, my sister, and she was finally born. And then 8 years after my sister's birth, I was born, and they praised God for a second child. So together, the hopes and dreams of my parents, lovingly given to us in the form of our names, is that my sister and I are and will always be prayer and praise. This story in Matthew tells us about two of Jesus' names. First, Joseph is told by an angel that the baby Mary is carrying will be named Jesus. The name Jesus basically means Adonai saves, or God saves. A little later in that same passage, Matthew harkens back to an Old Testament text, Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14, where in that instance as well, a young woman conceives, bears a son, and they call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. Matthew seems to be telling his ancient Israelite audience that Jesus is a God who saves and a God who will be with us. This year has been a hard year for many of us. We are reeling from a world that is hurting, a world that is desperate, and to me is both unrecognizable because of the blatant injustice that we see and experience all around us, and at the same time deeply recognizable because we know that throughout human history, we have experienced periods of time just like this. In fact, it's in moments of time like this that we cling to promises of simple things like names and the hopes and dreams that our ancestors passed on to us through our names. This Christmas season, and in the midst of the turmoil around us, if we don't remember anything else, let's remember Jesus' names. Let's remind ourselves that in the middle of injustice, Jesus' names hold the promise of a Savior and the promise of a God who dwells among us.